Another scare by Kent State to a top 25 team. I just can't believe I just said that. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Slasher U. I'm your host, Christian Rao, here with my co-host, Steve Feck. We're going to break down Gonzaga squeaking by with a win over Kent State. Number 18 Gonzaga with a win over Kent State. This is news here, folks. 73-66. Now, the reason we're talking about it in such a really comical light is because Kent State just almost did this to the number one team in the nation, Houston, as well, right? And now we're seeing them do it to Gonzaga. They just squeaked by. All I'm saying is this, Steve, before we dig into this game, Kent State better win the damn MAC. I mean, this is what they're doing against these teams in the country. It would be a disappointing season now if Kent State did not win the Mid-American Conference. Now, I know they're sitting at the top right now. They're sitting pretty, and they got a nice home record of 5-0. They're sitting with 6-3. Those two of those three losses are coming from top 25 teams, and that's really impressive. And I think they need to continue on with that pace. The only other loss is to Charleston, who Charleston is not a bad team either. So this Kent State team is actually I'm actually really interested to see if we could find them. Maybe we find them in the top 25 at some point this year. I don't know when's the last time we've had a MAC team in the top 25. That's a interesting concept. I can't think of one off the top of my head. But let's get back to this real quick. What do you think about Gonzaga and Kent State this game? Gonzaga was a team that you and I were both very high on this season. I'm still high on them, just a little more concerned as I once was at the beginning of this preseason.
I'm getting a little bit concerned. Again, I have more of an emotional attachment to Gonzaga. If life had fell into better place, that would have been my alma mater. Had everything kind of come together, but they did dominate in the paint, and you would expect that, against a Kent State. I mean, you have Drew Timme. Right there, you've got a huge advantage on inside play. And he had 29 points, 17 rebounds, 2 blocks. But what I also really enjoyed about this game is that because of the way that Kent State was causing chaos from a defensive standpoint, the Gonzaga guards had 20 rebounds. You generally don't see that in any game, but so that you saw that Gonzaga was making the adjustments in game there. I think a concern for Gonzaga is they struggled from the floor, but there's a common thread through the 3 games that you referenced. Okay? I mean, people forget, College of Charleston won the Charleston Classic, and there were some really good teams in that tournament.
Virginia Tech, who just beat North Carolina.
Right, but they struggled from the floor. Now, the good news for Gonzaga is they outscored the number 1 team in the country, Houston, against Kent State by almost 30 points. But again, neither team shot well from the floor in that particular case. And I went back and I didn't watch the game live. I went back and watched the game. I can't say I can put my finger on anything saying this is what Kent State is doing defensively that's causing all of this, chaos and disruption with really, really good teams. But it's happening. I don't care what it's doing. I mean, if Kent State's going to be able to play like this all through MAC tourney play, not only are the coaches in the MAC going to have ulcers and sleepless nights, now, a MAC team's going to be, I don't know, between a 10 and a 15 seed, let's say. And do you think some of the top seeded teams are going to want to play a team like that in the opening round of the tournament? Absolutely not. So if it would be nice if Kent State could score some baskets of their own, that would really help them a lot. They're shooting well below 40%, on the year. And that's not just, that's against all teams, not just, these ranked teams. But it's been fun. I love when teams like Kent State just sort of happen, in November and December. So now suddenly you can't ignore the MAC, because I think the MAC was slated to have kind of a down year, not a bad year, but sort of like a bunch of good teams, but not really a team that would stand out. I don't know if that's the case now, based on what we've seen from Kent State here over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if Kent State can get it rolling because honestly, I thought it was going to be a team like maybe University of Buffalo or maybe Toledo that stepped up and led the charge in the MAC. I didn't have Kent State on my bingo card for winning the MAC. I didn't. That was just wasn't something following, but they are definitely proving me wrong thus far. As for Gonzaga, I agree with basically everything you just said. It's nice seeing 29 points and 17 rebounds from Drew Timme, but I would like to see more spread across. I'd like to see their shooting get better. And even though they shot horribly, they found a way to still shoot better than their opponent. Now, that obviously is a good thing moving forward. You obviously want to do that. You got to, shoot better to win the game. I get that 100%. But when you go play stronger competition, and as much as we're Kent State, let's be honest here, Gonzaga is trying to get a better record non-conference. So when they do push through the WCC here, they can find a way to get one of those 1 seeds in March. That is their ultimate goal right now. That doesn't seem really to be in their favor right now, based on the struggles they've had just this last weekend, just with their loss, for example. However, with their fact of them being able to improve and hopefully better from the floor, that is something that we really need to pay attention to moving forward. They get Washington coming today, and then later on, a week before Christmas on the 17th, they got to play Alabama, the nation, and Alabama has looked very good. Yes. That is, I think, the ultimate gut check for Gonzaga. That is actually the last true, that is their toughest non-conference game remaining this year. To non-conference towards the end of the year, beginning of the year in January, but they finish out non-conference with Eastern Oregon, Montana, Northern Illinois, Washington, and then Alabama, right? So those are the 5 remaining. Alabama, obviously the toughest one, and they're the only one that's ranked. Alabama's currently ranked 8th in the nation. That's going to be a tough game, but there is an opportunity for Gonzaga to strike back to prove, hey, look, we are as tough of a team as you thought we were at the beginning of the year. There's a reason you preseason ranked this number 2 in the nation. Let us get some of those numbers back, so when we head in and do our thing in the WCC, we can get back to a potential number 1 seed in the nation, Steve.
I think some Gonzaga fans were like, well, that game on the aircraft carrier, you really can't hold that shooting performance against them. And then it was like, well, these teams played some really good defense and that we just had an off night. There are more off nights from the floor than there are typical, because Gonzaga typically shoots the ball well. They seem to be making mistakes, and that's another thing that doesn't happen for a Mark Pugh team. I mean, we've talked about earlier this evening about North Carolina and some of their early struggles. They'll get it figured out. But again, right now, I'm glad you brought up the seeding. It's hard for me to see Gonzaga being a number 1 seed at this point, no matter what they do in the WCC. I don't think, even if they beat Alabama, I don't know that they would be a 1 seed at this point. So they've kind of shot themselves in the foot to that degree so far. But again, it's December.
It's early. Yeah, I mean, we just seen what 1 weekend has done to North Carolina, right? So, yeah, it's definitely early. One thing I will say about Gonzaga is that, yes, it's concerning that they got 3 losses already. But if you look at their losses, they are high-quality losses. They're not embarrassing losses. And compared to the current rankings right now, not when they played, but the current rankings right now, their losses are to a number 2 team, a number 4 team, and a number 12 team in the nation. Those are your losses. So all top 15 losses. So in that aspect, you can at least say, or at least we're losing against competitive teams, but that doesn't help your number 1 seed chances. So
right.
That is, right. Yeah. So that is true. Okay. That doesn't help your number 1 seed chances, but it also doesn't hurt your non-conference play as bad compared to maybe another loss or a blowout loss in that case. Obviously, I'm playing apples and oranges here, and that is something that I don't like to do. But it's something to just put in perspective that two of the 3 teams are still undefeated that Gonzaga has lost to. So just keep that in mind. Let us know your thoughts in the description below, what you think about this Gonzaga team and what you thought about that game between Kent State and Gonzaga. Do you think Kent State's for real, by the way? And what do you like their chances in the MAC? Let us know in the comment description below. Hit like and subscribe while you're there. And thanks for watching the SlasherU.